For 96 hours and counting now, India Today has been totally committed to bringing to you the world's #1 news story. Non-stop breaking news updates straight from the war zone, because this is a story that involves us all. It's happening far away from India, but this matters to you and me. The latest Ukrainian armed forces in their latest claim say that they have managed to shoot down a missile fired from the territory of Belarus. Air raid alerts have been sounded in the capital city of Kyiv. Street fighting is also on in Kharkiv. Russian forces have reportedly entered Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv, amidst heavy shelling. Russia is closing in on the city, say local reports, as well as the government, and it could be under siege. Kyiv could be next. Let's go straight across to India Today's Gaurav Sawant, who's been live with us right through this. He's just spent over 20 hours getting from the eastern part of the country through Kharkiv, and he's reached Kyiv just a short while ago. Gaurav, the city of Kharkiv, which you visited earlier, apparently has almost fallen to the Russians. Pitched battles happening on the streets, a lot of artillery and rocket fire. We still haven't been able to get enough imagery from there. We're trying our best. What are you hearing?
Shiv, from our local contacts, we are hearing that the Russian forces are advancing rapidly towards Kharkiv. And why are they succeeding there? It's the eastern tip of Ukraine, very close to Russia, barely 25 kilometers from the Russian border. And there was a huge armor presence, the Russian armor presence on the road to Kharkiv. Remember, Shiv, we first showed on India Today the images of the border and the scant deployment on ground. There wasn't much to hold Russian forces when they came in. Of course, there were some of those anti-tank guided missile units that were deployed to stall the advance, and they did succeed in stalling the advance for some bit, but not beyond. There are a lot of Russian-speaking people with their sympathies with Russia. Also, those who say that this is an American-sponsored conflict, in the sense that the Americans are meddling in Russia and Ukraine's affairs, and that is why things have come to such a pass. That led to the escalation and a lot of sympathy with the Russians. Pitched battles means the Russians do have an advantage of knowing people, inside information, the fifth columnists, as the Ukrainians call them. That's where they're moving forward. Also, the engagement that's happening on that axis, Shiv, is very intense also, because, Shiv, 4 units of the Russians came charging in. 1 engaged the Ukrainian forces and the other 3 sped past towards Kiev. That was the strategy that was adopted in the east. In Mariupol, there were stalling operations from the Ukrainians. Here in Kiev, where we are, a short while back, air raid sirens went up. We saw aircraft flying overhead. We heard aircraft, right? Because it's an overcast sky, you don't see the aircraft, you hear them. And then there was this thud, some kind of perhaps artillery going off somewhere. And militiamen are now coming in. Militiamen are coming in, it seems, from other parts, assembling here and then being taken in trucks. You also have a massive deployment of the Ukrainian security forces in this area at this point of time. You can look at the number of people, security forces personnel, who are now being deployed here. This is for the protection of this area. They want to protect all vital assets, vital points. Shiv, what is crucial here is also the fact in Kiev there is apprehension, Shiv, that locals could be assisting the outsiders, and that is why every person is being checked repeatedly, including his mobile phone, to know what information have they stored there, who have they been communicating with, Shiv.
Gaurav, I'm going to come back to you in just a moment, quickly to tell our viewers, and we have a guest waiting for us in Ukraine who I'm going to introduce to our viewers in a moment. Gaurav, if you need to go, you can. We'll connect back with you. If you want to stay, you can, because you're in a site where things are very volatile right now with air raid sirens. I just wanted to show you where Kyiv is. Kyiv is the capital, and this is where Kharkiv is, which is the second largest city of Ukraine, and it has almost fallen to Russian forces. Okay, Sviatoslav Yurash is a member of parliament from Ukraine, and he joins me live now from Kiev. Mr. Yurash, thank you very much for your patience. Thank you for being with me this morning here on India Today. I wanted to come to you very quickly and ask you what the situation is currently, where you are. It's been another night of shelling and rocket attacks in the city.
Very much so. Thank you very much for your attention to the situation, to the drama unfolding in my country, the tragedy unfolding in Europe, and a huge lesson for the world. The reality is, yeah, today I'm in the government quarter. This is where I spend the night. Definitely some shelling. There was some saboteurs captured nearby. And, basically, yesterday I went to the front lines just outside of Kiev. Oh, you hear the shelling behind me. Basically, there were front lines outside of Kiev, and our forces were trying to not let the Russians encircle Kiev. We have Russian forces in the north. We have Russian forces in the east of the city. We don't have them controlling the situation in the south or the west. So our efforts yesterday was to try and get that. Maintain a connection to Kiev maintained through the south and through the west. Our forces were successful, basically, and coming back to Kiev after the battles there, the reality is there were some of the saboteur groups trying to enter Kiev and some of the shootouts in the city. It's very sad to see the city I love so dearly come into this situation. It's very clear the Russian full-scale invasion is continuing, and again, as the casualties mount up, as the prisoners of war that we capture are numerous, the reality is that we are determined to do one thing and one thing only: to win this fight and to continue our existence. Again, Russia is trying to destroy Ukraine's full-scale invasion. We will not let that happen.
Mr. Yurash, we've seen many civilians pick up weapons. They've enlisted at the territorial defense units. We've just filmed inside there. Extremely inspiring images, but also very disturbing. The fact that civilians, are feeling the need to pick up weapons. Are politicians like you also feeling the need to pick up a weapon? Yesterday, we saw Kira Rudik also, pick up a weapon. There are many others who are not part of the military who've decided to actually train and arm for possible fighting. Are you doing the same?
I did straight away. Right after the start of the war, basically, we voted for the mobilization law, and then we went to get our guns. And believe me, it wasn't just me and Kira. There were plenty of other individuals, both from opposition and the government. They were all joining in and saying they will fight this out. They will stay and they will battle for our country, no matter what. The reality is, again, this is the reason for the need for this. It's very simple. Again, we are fighting against one of the biggest armies in the world for our very existence, and we have nowhere else to go. This is our country, and we will stand our ground, and we will battle to the very end, because again, we have no other choice.
What's next for Kyiv, Mr. Yurash? Because at this point of time, from what we can tell through our reporters, from local media, from the Ukrainian government, is that the Russian forces have laid siege to the city, but they haven't entered in large numbers. Like you said, the special forces, certain militias have penetrated. They've taken control, for example, of the Hostomel airbase, the Antonov airport, just north of Kiev.
They have not.
They have not? Okay, so you're denying that's happened?
Hostomel is free.
Okay, Hostomel is free. Did they attempt to take it over?
Yes, time and time again, the fighting continues there. Hostomel is the biggest army airport near Kiev, and you can land there, big landing craft. Yeah. And the reality is, if Hostomel basically is taken over, they can land their forces fast, and they can try and put the pressure on Kiev even more than they have already. The reality is they have tried to enter Kiev in big numbers. They've been repulsed exactly by those citizens who were arming themselves and who were armed to battle against them. And there were amazing scenes of some local gangsters, for example, pushing back at the Russians in the north of Kiev. Some people just getting the guns from the trucks and going straight to fight. Some older men who went through the Soviet army, who went to Afghanistan, joining in and battling it out. So the point is, again, it is a people's war. Ukrainians want their independence. Ukrainians want to retain independence and fight for their chance to become a nation who will be successful and powerful. So the point here is that, again, Russia's our test. Our grandfathers fought for this, our great-grandfathers fought for this, and we will fight for this too.
Mr. Yurash, last couple of questions because I know you're busy. There have been major claims coming in on both sides. We know there's a fog of war. There's a great deal of misinformation as well. The Ukrainian government claims to have shot down, a large number of Russian aircraft. Is there any way to verify this? Apparently, 2 heavy aircraft of the Russians, carrying hundreds of paratroopers, were also shot down. Anything that we can use to corroborate such big claims that are coming in?
Images are all over the internet, to be honest with you. The imagery is everywhere. You get swamped by it. There are videos with the Russian prisoners of war and them calling
We've seen those,
to
yes.
their mothers, basically, because again, we are treating them according to every international convention, and their mothers asking like, why are you in Ukraine? The fact of the matter is that, again, we have photos and images of those airplanes that were down. We have Ukrainian ace and video of how he actually managed to down already 9 Russian planes, and basically the first ace in the Second World War who basically managed to achieve such a feat. The fact of the matter is this is the largest war that Europe has seen, if not the world, since the Second World War. And our point here is that we are going to win this because, again, we have no other choice. If we lose,
it's a fight for freedom. You're saying it's a fight for freedom.
Is lost. My generation is the more focused to it. We are born independent Ukraine. We shall die independent Ukraine.
Yeah. Mr. Yurash, if you don't mind me asking you, how old are you? How old are you? You're in the current generation. You're 26?
26 now. 23 when I was elected. I'm the youngest ever member of parliament of Ukraine.
Yeah. That's what I thought. That's what I thought, because you look very young as well. So you've picked up a weapon. Are you trained in the use of a weapon? My last couple of questions before I let you go. Are you trained? Because many civilians are picking up weapons. Is adequate training being provided to them? Are they actually going to be expected to play a role in the military effort?
These skills you pick up pretty fast when you're fighting for your lives. I mean, I had some experience.
I know what you're saying.
But very little. And I have, I have members of my parliamentary team who are fighting near Kiev right now and leading some troops there. And that's why I was at the front lines yesterday to get some practical training and to fight with them. The fact of the matter is that, again, basically, we not are just trained, we are fighting. We shall fight. Because, again, as far as the lack of training and all that, that's mended pretty fast. Ukraine knows that story. We have fought the war for the last 8 years on the eastern front lines with the Russians, and we will basically train many more of those who are willing and want to fight for their country.
Mr. Yurash, I wish you well. Thank you very much for being with me. Stay safe. I hope, all of us hope that none of you need to fire a weapon, because I don't think anybody wants to do that. Everyone's got families, you've got loved ones, and if it doesn't come to it, if one doesn't need to fire a weapon, let's hope you don't need to do it. We wish you safety. Wish we were reporting in different circumstances, but unfortunately, this is day 4 of an invasion that is only increasing in intensity.